Okay, so when we open up After Effects, this is how it generally looks. Be a variation on this. So the project window here is where all your assets go and where you'll find all your compositions or timelines. So easiest way to get your footage in there is to simply drag it and drop it. So that's what I'm going to do. I've got some clips over here which I'll just drag and drop into the project window, and I'll grab this one as well. Okay, so we can see once the clips are in, there's a little thumbnail image. We can also import as well by double clicking, or I can right click, go to import file, multiple files. There's a few different options there. For now, what we've got is fine. So what I'm going to do is just have a quick look around. What we're going to do is stick some clips together, make some basic transitions, and add a little bit of text at the end. So we can just, what we'll do is we'll drag this clip down here, and that's going to create a composition or timeline based on the dimensions of this clip here. So you can see that it's 15 seconds long, it's 1920 by 1080, which is the same as this particular clip here. Now it's all going to sit happily and neatly over here. Now this is kind of a small space for screen capture purposes, but you know, so you can rearrange all your windows and panels to suit yourself. You know, you can just drag them around like this, and you can see how the green line is going down there at the bottom, and it'll give me a bit more room. You can change this to suit your own needs as you go. So a few of the windows that we have, we've got the properties panel here. So it's going to give me a quick overview of everything that's all the attributes of the particular layer I've selected. There's the preview panel. Really all you need to know is spacebar. Character and paragraph panels. Align, libraries for connecting to your Adobe account for color schemes, all that kind of thing. The info panel, sometimes you'll need that, sometimes you won't. And effects controls, we'll be having a look at that later. The project window, you can leave that there, or if you wanted a bit more real estate, you can move it off to the side here like this, and then let's just sometimes hit Control-0 to bring it up and to make it disappear. Command and 0 if you're on a Mac. Alright, so let's go back over this way. We'll drag this window out a bit more. If I hit comma and full stop, I can zoom in and out. So let's grab, what was it? Yeah, this one here, mountain. And I'm just going to scrub forward a bit. Right, maybe to about there. We're going to do a really basic edit in After Effects. And I will hold down Alt or Option and Alt or Option and left bracket, and it will cut the clip for me. Another thing you can do is bring your pointer over to the edge of the clip. You can see how it changes from arrow to this kind of double-headed arrow, and you can drag it either way, left or right. And it's like this. It's at the very start of the clip. So yeah, 3 seconds is about it. Alright, so I'm gonna, yeah, maybe this one could be next. Alright, so I'll just tighten this up a bit. I'll do the same. Like, they're all general landscape shots, nothing crazy, nothing hectic, quite simple. They're all shot on sort of drone footage, so yeah, they look kind of interesting. Could be something for, you know, tourist board or a drone pilot showreel or something, you know. And we'll add the next clip, which is Frozen Lake. And we'll do the same again. And if you want to get a closer look at the clip, you can double click it either in the project window, and I'll bring it up here in the footage window. And again, I can either use this drop down to make it a bit more viewable, or I can hit comma and full stop. Once the clip is in the timeline here, if I double click it, it opens up in the layer window. Now, you will get confused with this as you're starting to learn After Effects because they all kind of look the same. composition is where the action happens. That's the one you need. So for now I'm just going to close the layer and footage windows. I don't need them at the moment. If you sort of think of the footage window similar to the preview window in Premiere, it'll help. And then I'll cut this one around here somewhere, and then I'll add a waterfall shot at the end. I'll drag this one back. Bit of a dink there, but that should be fine. I think. If I hit minus on the keyboard, I can zoom in and out on the timeline. So I can go right in and get a better look at how the keyframes are lining up. Okay, so just not the most spectacular of edits, but you know, it'll give you a good idea of what's going on. Cool. Alright, so I'll just drag that back a bit. Alright, so what I'm going to do here is, with my layer selected, this top one, if I go into this little twirly arrow over here, I can open up the clip and I can see the transform and audio properties. Only give me the audio because there happens to be an empty soundtrack there. So transform, and it gives, every layer will have this: anchor, position, scale, rotation, opacity. You can access those by hitting S for scale, P for position, A for anchor, and so on and so forth. T is the outlier, T is opacity. Alright. Anchor point is sort of like the pivot point, it's this bit in the middle. And that's what you would rotate around. So if I move the anchor point by using what's called the pan behind or anchor point tool by hitting Y, I can grab that and just drag it around. So just maybe put it over here somewhere where you can actually see it. And then if I change the rotation, you can see that is where it rotates from now. Alright. Cool. So I'm going to set a keyframe for position by clicking the stopwatch icon. And I'll push forward 12 frames, Control or Command Shift, and right arrow to go jump forward 10 frames, and Control or Command right arrow to go forward 1 frame. I'll set another keyframe. With this one, I sort of want it to come down at this point, so just select the clip. Got two ways to do this. I can just drag it down like that, or I can go over here to the numerical values. I can start dragging across. It goes faster if I hold down Shift, or I can just type it in. So, you know, 1800 will do for there. Whatever works. Actually, I'm gonna leave it at that. Yeah. Cool. I'm gonna turn these off to help me out a little bit. So you can see that clip's just disappearing away. I'll turn that back on. And now I'm going to add a little edit effect or transition. It's just with a colored solid layer, which will mimic the motion of this clip. So to bring up a solid is pretty much any sort of layer that exists inside of After Effects. It's like one of After Effects' own native layers. Everything else you'll sort of bring in, like there's shape layers too, but you know, solids are just a colored square. So we'll hit Control or Command Y, or right click in the timeline, new solid. That'll give me this dialog. So I can change the color, it can be anything, you know, there's your color picker. I'm going to use the eyedropper to grab one of these colors here from the mountain side, sort of a purpley grey, maybe a bit darker. Go into it and drag that down a bit. Cool. It's over the top, so bring it in underneath the mountain clip, and if I select the mountain clip, hit P, bring up the position keyframes, make sure I'm in the correct place, hold my select my solid, hit Alt and square bracket to or Option square bracket to cut the clip or the solid, sorry, and same again here. Stretch that out a bit, and I'm going to copy and paste these keyframes. So Control C, go down here, Control V. Great, as you can see, I've got my keyframes there. I'll push this forward 2 frames, so there'll be a bit of an offset. Boom. That's a bit linear, I'm not so keen on the way the motion is, so I'm going to change that. I'm drawing a box across the keyframes, just click and drag across them. I can also go over to the parameter I want to select, in this case position, and just click on the word position and hold down Control or Command and click on position again, and then right click on one of the keyframes, go to keyframe assistant, easy ease. You can see there's a few different options here, I'll go into that in a moment, but easy ease is the one you want. And actually I'll undo that, I'll show you what it refers to. So if I click this thing here, it's the graph editor, and if I go to edit value graph, you can see that they just go in a linear manner. So, and then if I hit F9 or apply easy ease, see that the shape has changed, and also the position at that moment in time of the mountain clip has changed a little. So I'm going to change that even more, so I'm going to go to the speed graph by right clicking on it, click and drag across these. It gives me little Bezier handles similar to what you get in Illustrator or Photoshop or After Effects for masks, and that changes the speed of the path. So it starts fast and eases out. Right click at a value graph and you can see how it's going to start and then be super mellow. Alright, go back to my timeline view. I'm going to duplicate this thick dark blue solid, move it on 2 frames, and I think I'm going to make it a kind of white color to match the snow and or a grey color to match the ice here. So in order to do that, it's Control Shift and Y, bring up the solid settings. I use the eyedropper and something like that. And because those keyframes are the same as the other one, it's looking good. I'll drag that back a bit, a bit faster. Cool. Now if I want my animation to move quicker, I can select my keyframes and push them along, so the distance between these and the timeline is shorter, so they actually move faster. And if you offset these, you can get some pretty cool little looks. Lovely. Move on to the next transition. Okay, so we're going to hit Alt, Shift and P to bring up to apply a position keyframe. We can also undo that if you like and hit P on the keyboard. That brings up the position parameter, add a keyframe, jump forward to 10, maybe 12 frames, drag that out, and I think for this one I'm going to go down on this one again. We'll see how it looks. Cool. Now the solids I'm going to put in behind would be they can be any color, you know, if you've got a logo or branding or something like color scheme that you need to stick to, you can use that. It really reinforces the message that you're trying to tell. But in this case I'm just adding I'm going to add a darker green solid to match the trees. And the color picker usually just grabs one particular pixel. I think that's how it works, 1 pixel. So, you know, you can grab a very dark one, look at that, it's practically black, or you can grab one that's just kind of grey or mossy green or something. So I'm going to change this to more of a green color. You can always change it. And like before, I'm going to easy ease the keyframes and really crank that up a bit. Cool. And I'll copy and paste those keyframes to the green solid there. I might change that actually. Let's duplicate that. Command or Control D. And I'm going to change top green to something matching the sky, a little deliberately not identical. That'll do. Move this one on a bit. I'll add a third solid to be similar colour to the lake. Command Y. Beautiful teal or cyan look. And again, I'll copy and paste the keyframes and see how it looks. And if I select a layer and hit U, it'll bring up the keyframes, so I can see that I've got everything aligned correctly in time. Maybe that green one, I don't know. I like it. The contrast. Otherwise it's just shades of blue and teal, so anyway. Okay. And we go on. These I'm gonna cut there so they're not in the way. This one I will add a keyframe, push forward 12 seconds. This one I'm going to move to the side like that. Oh, have that one in there twice. Oops. Okay, so I can swap that out. Got frozen like there twice, don't need it. Yeah, this is the one I wanted. Incredible, stunning red lodge. Boom. Okay. Okay, so let's add a new solid. Maybe we'll duplicate this one. Drag it down. Drag it over. Hit U to bring up my keyframes. I'll get rid of them by clicking on the position keyframe icon. On the stopwatch icon, gets rid of all of them once they're all selected. Or yeah, once they're all selected. And move that over. They'll sort of follow. It's 2,900. That's the other one. And I can move the keyframe, the individual keyframe forward by holding down Alt or Option and left or right arrow. Cool. Make these more pleasing on the eye. Whoops. Drag that over. Now we'll just ease these keyframes in. Nice little whip. Cool. Alright, and I will duplicate that. Change the color. Control Shift or Command Shift and Y. And I'll pick this kind of yellowy green to match the grass. No. Or a sandy yellow. There we go. Sandy green even. Cool. Drag it down a bit. And I'll add a third by duplicating that one. Control Command Shift Y and just pick a green from the trees, darker one, a bit punchier, not as flat. Cool. Lovely. Our final one is the waterfall. Okay. Oh, I can drop this one down, I think. Let's make sure these are all looking good. Yeah. Cool. and the solids are going to be similar to this. So Control Y. I like that little bit of red in the leaves, autumn leaves. Be a bit punchier. Cool. Copy these keyframes and paste them onto the red solid below. Cool. And we'll do that again. Oh no, I'll ease up the keyframes a bit. And I'll ease the keyframes. F9, into my graph editor. It'll be kind of similar again. So I'll duplicate this. Make the second solid there. Change the color from orange to like sort of autumnal yellow, and I'll duplicate that one, move that down a little bit, and again Command Shift and Y, Control Shift and Y, and I'll get more light green. Cool. Too punchy a green. I gotta change that. Oh. More desaturated, I think. Okay, cool. I can bring that keyframe across a bit so it catches up more with the yellow one. I think I'll do that with all of them, so they catch up with the footage clip bit quicker. Now if I hit Command or Control A, and then let's get them all neat and tidy. Start the timeline. How does it look? Play it back by hitting spacebar. Fabulous. Maybe this one's a little quick, I think. This first one. So I'll just drag the keyframes out a bit. Nothing special. Alright. So that's a very basic edit and a couple of transitions. So the next thing we're going to do is add some text. And we'll go up to the window here, the toolbar here. If you don't see this particular toolbar, go to Window, go down to Tools, you'll see it. So just hit the text tool. We'll just type whatever you want, say maybe the Great Outdoors. So if I hit apostrophe on the keyboard, it'll give me the bounding box. I can also get that down here, not the bounding box, the action title safe grid. Also I can have a look at the proportional grid, which is actually quite useful for lining things up proportionally. So text there, I need to go have a look at my text properties. So I can get rid of any of these at any stage. I'm also going to drag the paragraph window out down there, and you can see the center or anchor point is on the layers there, so I can change that for text by change the alignment, left or right alignment, center, whatever works. I can pick any number of typefaces I might have installed in my system, whether it's Adobe or anything that you may have yourself. and pick whatever weight that you might want. So let's change this up a little. So double click on it with the type tool to go in and edit it, and change the line spacing here. You can always go with auto. I prefer it personally a little bit more, a little closer, but again, it's subject to taste really. That will need to change when I crank the size of the text up. Cool. And might crank that down a bit. Okay. I'm going to change that. I'm just going to call it Great Outdoors, and I'll make the word "the" in a separate layer. No, I'm not. So I can make an indentation or something using these indent tools in Paragraph. It's kind of rare that you'd need them, but it's good to know they're available. So -400, maybe just drag that over. So it's a little different when it's different size. Lovely. So I might want to skew that a bit. So okay, so I'm going to animate my text a little. There's a whole load of text animation presets inside here that come bundled with After Effects. For the most part, they're not great, to be fair. There's, I'd say they're cheap, but they just don't necessarily look the best. So there are a handful that are good, such as fade up lines, fade up words, and there's variations on that. But generally text animations most of them are pretty horrific, and they can just end up looking like really bad PowerPoint if you go too crazy with it. So we'll go with slide up by word. Drag and drop it onto the text. That's going to apply some different settings and add some keyframes based on where where the time playing head is, where that moment in time is. So let's have a look. There's the keyframes. Let's drag it over. Brings in the Great Outdoors like that. So sliding up from the bottom, I'm not too keen on that, but if I open up this property called Range Selector and Advanced, actually if I open up the text layer itself, you can see that there's a couple of extra properties that have been added there. So I still have my original position, which is the position of the overall layer, but this position here refers to how far it slides off. Now if you look carefully, there's little X's under each character, and that's what this is referring to. So that's gone something ridiculous like 7,500 pixels, which is far too much. So I could just make that 100. I'll see where it starts. It comes up like that. A lot more elegant. And there's also another opacity parameter here. So if I make that 100, you'll see that it just starts from solid and goes like that. So bring that back to 0, and it starts from 0 and it goes to 100. Now the whole idea is that this offset controls the text animation, and this means here that the position, it's not going to move left to right. It'll go 100 pixels up, and it'll start at 0% opacity, and then it'll go to 100 based on offset. Okay. I have to add a little something because the word great outdoors is getting lost with the it's getting lost with the waterfall there. So now I might try something. If I go into animate here, I can add some extra properties. So skew I'll change to 15, and then I'll change the overall rotation of the text layer. See if that makes it look a little different. Minus 7.5. I'll add a drop shadow, so I'm going to need that to give it a separation from the water and the color of the text. I could always change the color of the text, but I like that off-white. So drop shadow, select it, drop it onto my text. Now this needs to be subtle, it needs to be soft, so I'll push the distance out, the softness right up, bring it back a bit. Cool. And I can duplicate that. I can really scale it up. And you can turn on and off your effects as you like. Cool. So this starts around here. So trim it. Now I'll add some levels adjustments. You can do that overall. The easiest way to do that is via an adjustment layer. So we would right click in the timeline, on the layer stack, new adjustment layer. I'll bring that to the top, and the easiest is either levels or curves. So they both do the same job. So we can just, if we lift this part of the curve up, it will get brighter. We pull it down here, I'll get that a little bit darker. Now the adjustment layer affects everything in the below it, so I can start the adjustment layer there, but it's a bit clunky. That's one option. Or I can keyframe this value. You can see how the whites are getting a bit blown out. So what I'll do is I'll just put that curves layer on the waterfall footage, and I'll try a different curves adjustment for everything else. So I'll add a point there in the middle, bring the shadows and contrast down a bit. It has to be subtle, doesn't have to be anything crazy. We're not trying to recreate Fury Road here. Cool. Now with the adjustment layer selected, I'll also add a nice vignette on it. You can see how it's actually changed the colors. It just adds like a bit of shading around the edges. The CC vignette 99% of the time will work as with its default settings. Cool. So now you've got your Great Outdoors clip done and you want to export it. So if we hold down Control Shift and / or Command Shift and / it will send it to the render queue. So I like to keep it there. Oh, one thing we forgot to do is to rename our composition. So to change any of the composition settings, it's Control or Command K, and we'll just call it Great Outdoors. By default, when you create a new comp, it's going to call it either Comp 1, or if you just drag and drop footage down into here into a new comp button, it'll name it after the clip. So cool, that's that. And go back to the render queue, and we can decide where we want to export it. So, you know, anywhere on your hard drive will do. And this is like the default setting in After Effects. It's now H.264, so you can change that. There's a few others. I've set up my own for image sequences and ProRes and whatnot. 40 megasecond would be very high quality, larger file size. 5 would be a lot smaller and neater. Up to you. And then once you've set your file destination, just boom, let it go. Alright, well that's about it. Hopefully you learned something, and yeah, we'll see you in the Great Outdoors, eh?